Assalamu alaikum, and peace and blessings be upon you and your family. I think sometimes because
I am wearing an outfit from
the Honorable Minister doing Firecast, so I'm happy to be on the show with you.
I thank you so much.
a woman shall rise as high as her God-given gift. Welcome back to the second season of At My Sister's House, Season 2. Thank you for joining us for the second season of At My Sister's House. I am your hostess, Sister Fatimah A Muhammad, and I am being joined this evening by my sisters, the sisters in the ministry of Muhammad Mosque #1. I welcome you all to the show and thank you for accepting my invitation.
Thank you for having us.
Alhamdulillah. So we're going to start first to my left and introduce my first sister sitting next to me. I have next to me my sister, Sister Sinah Muhammad, who is by way of Memphis.
Yes.
But she's here at Mosque #1. She's the author of 2 books. She is the co-director of Human Trafficking with Righteous Sons. She is the owner of several businesses, which we, inshallah, will touch on. Wife, mother, sister in the student ministry, ordained minister, our sister, Sister Sinah Muhammad. Welcome, welcome. And sitting to my right, I have my sister with us, Sister Dr. Eminence El-Amin. Thank you and welcome to the show. Thank you for being on. My sister is a student minister of Muhammad Mosque #1 here in Detroit, Michigan. She is a philanthropist, a ND, a HHP. You're going to have to explain all this to us in a little bit. A LMT, a Reiki master. Did I pronounce it right? Reiki master, a master herbalist, and an author. She has several businesses, also in the name of Eminent Holistic, Healthy Living with Eminence, Sage by Eminence, Eminence Healing Hands and Cooking with Eminence, which all fall under the Eminence Healing Energies. And I can attest to our sister's catering, not just at the mosque, but my family had her cauliflower at one of our events. And after that, she became the official family's caterer. So every event, every baby shower, she's been to the bridal showers, the birthday parties, the repasses. They just call and say, call a sister from the mosque. They already know. She already know. I don't know if she stopped catering, my family gonna keep on calling for the cauliflower. This is our sister, Sister Eminence El-Amin. Thank you for being on today.
Pleasure.
And next to my sister is Sister Letitia Muhammad. She's no stranger. Everyone's seen her come on before. I'm very grateful to my sister. Sister Letitia is a licensed real estate broker. And we want to say run your own business, correct?
I have a license as a real estate associate broker, and I have my own separate business.
Wow. A student minister and community activist. She is a volunteer with the Domestic Violence Shelter, Young Women in the Wayne County Juvenile Facility, and a contributor to various charities and organizations. She is my soror, Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. She's also a part of the YWCA Interim House, and she is a sister, and may I say, she is one of the first sisters I know of to come out of the student ministry and hold down an entire Sunday lecture. Set the house on fire. Believe it, a guest got up, accepted. I heard you did a phenomenal job. May Allah continue to bless you. I thank you. And I thank you all for the bios. And I wanted to make sure we had that for a reason, because I didn't per se do that in the first season. But I wanted the people watching to realize that we carry many hats as women. Coming in Islam, we still wear multiple hats. We do a lot in the community. We do a lot in our own homes, running businesses, etc. But yet there's still time for the things that is most needed right here in our communities. The acts of kindness and serving and being in a ministry. So I want to start by asking, and I'll start with you, Sister Letitia. When you think of yourself as one of the sisters in a ministry class, what is one of the most important parts of that, would you say, being in the ministry class, but a woman in the ministry class?
That's a really good question, because I did not want to be a student minister. I don't believe in preaching.
Right.
Minister Beronica is the ultimate teacher.
Yes.
And I just wanted to study with the student ministry when I first was registered at Mosque number 15 in Atlanta. I'm from Detroit, but I registered when I went to school in the South.
Yes.
And I was in the student ministry class there. And up here, it wasn't the same. And I did not have a chance to study with the ministry for a long time. And I just finally got tired.
Yeah.
And I requested to study with the ministry. I don't know how this all snowballed, this whole thing. And now I'm doing a whole lecture. But the desire was to have like-minded individuals that I could share and could sharpen my study skills with. That was the initial intent.
Yeah.
And so the most essential piece that I would say, first is study, but second is you need to have a heart to teach the people what we have been given. It's an unusual truth. It's a special and unique teaching. And so the goal is not for you to look good teaching it, right?
Right.
That's not the goal. The goal is for you to deliver it in such a way that you help people see things differently and bring them to Islam. So if you don't have that desire and you don't have the desire to study, this is not for you.
Exactly.
You have those desires and you put that as a priority, I believe you'll do extremely well, because it's not about you being so eloquent or being talented. It's literally you love this particular word and this teaching that was given to us by God Himself, and you want to help people understand it and see it. That's key.
You said a word, and I was going to build on it later, but I'm grateful you brought it up now. Love. So along with, of course, the knowledge and study and the teachings, of course, to have the love for the minister and this word, how important is the word love in servicing our people? Because we're going to people who don't necessarily always want to hear it. And sometimes even twice as hard as coming from a woman. So when you think love, Sister Yasin, and the love of doing this, having the love of evil, where is the importance of love in that equation?
For me, it's I've always loved the Bible.
Yeah.
I mean, y'all know me, so I grew up reading the Bible. And the love that Jesus had for the people, there wasn't a love so beautiful until I came into the nation and ministered for her. We come from people who are downtrodden, who, according to this world, are the worst of the worst and the lowest of the low. So, in order to reach our people, you have to give them a love that they've never experienced before. And give them something that you're not expecting anything in return from them, and they feel that.
Yes.
And them knowing whatever you do for them, it comes from your heart, they will listen.
Yes.
It's an approach. There is a skill that God puts in His servants.
Yes.
That when we go out as the saviors, as the good shepherds, our people know when we're lying. So we have to have the heart that Jesus has, the heart that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has, the heart that Master Muhammad has, and that's to see our people lifted up.
Yes.
So everything we do, they should feel love, and it's just something God puts in us. It's just something that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said every time he looks into the face of a black man and woman, he's looking in the face of God. So how do you treat God?
There you go. That part.
You say, I love God, but then I'm looking at God. So how do I treat God? So we treat our people the same way that God treats us, and that's with love.
Excellent. I concur.
Thank you.
That's beautiful. Now, Sister Dr. Eminence, your background is very heavy in the healings, looking at the naturopathic way of doing things, even down to your food. You're using organic ingredients. So you're seeing the healing, the body, the mind. How do you tie that into doing the work that you're doing in the ministry and amongst our people?
That's a heavy question. But like what Sister Letitia said was so eloquent, because I didn't ask to be in the ministry. You know, I moved to Detroit from the South, and I came here and I opened up a cafe, and I just, was trying to find my way.
Right.
And Student Minister Troy was just like, every time I seen him, I need you in the ministry. And I'm like, no, because I'm by nature, I love what I do as far as providing services, working with my clients. But when it comes to like being out front, I'm a pretty behind the scenes person. So this all makes me come out my element, because for me, when I'm with my clients, they see a whole nother side of me.
Right.
When they come to my office, they're like, whoa.
Right.
Right. Even believers, like I've traveled all over to have private sessions with believers, and they're like, wow, and I'm a whole nother person, because that's what I love. I love allowing a person to see that they are their own healer.
Yes.
So when it comes to food, I'm so compelled to make sure that whatever I create is right, because I don't want punishment from Allah.
Right.
A lot of people, they want money. They want money. And they're not understanding that money comes.
Yes,
the universe, like I know that's so spooky, because they say, oh, the universe will provide. No, Master Muhammad will provide. So while I'm at the mosque, no matter what I'm asked to do, I try to do it.
Yes.
With Sister Captain or Minister Troy, whoever, I try to comply, because I'm like, that's not them. That's Master Muhammad speaking to me through them, because he gave me these gifts. I cannot just, hold back. And
exactly.
So I thank Detroit, because being in Detroit has allowed me to really grow in my ministry. Prior to the nation, I was in the church.
Yes.
Yeah, I was a youth pastor. I even drove the van every Sunday.
Right.
I loved that. I had no problem with it. So, but the first time I came to the mosque, well, it was a study group. My student minister there was Brother Tyrone, his wife, Sister Elise, which they're like my nation family. They're my mother and my father in the nation. Because those people, I used to come to their home. We did a lot.
Now,
together.
what city is this?
This is North Carolina.
Alhamdulillah.
So I will say, like, I came to the mosque, I immediately started covering my hair and everything, went back to church. They held a seance, an exorcism for me. They told me they had to expel the Allah demon, and I was just, this is the truth. And I had to make my choice right then and there.
Yes, ma'am.
And I was like, I can't go back to the church. I just can't. So I came in always quoting Bible scripture and everything, and Minister Tyrone used to say, you're just Dr. Ava. You a little Dr. Ava. Because I was like 23 or something. Yeah, he was like, and I was in college and everything. He was like, you're just a little Dr. Ava. And so I opened up I switched over. I used to have like a jewelry store and
Okay.
accessories, and then when I came to the nation, that's when I was making holistic products and everything, massage therapy. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to open up an actual spa, a healing spa. So that's when I came in. I already had a business,
Right.
and the believers supported me so much, you know, and that was how I knew I was where I was supposed to be.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. And it's funny because many of us come from a church background, and although we may not be in the church, we're in the churches. You know, we're still visiting the churches, and there are certain churches I know I'm like an honorary member of because I go so often.
Right. I know all the songs.
I know all the songs. I know when we're going to do what part. Okay, now we should be doing solo. We should be, everybody get ready for the solo now.
Right.
But the minister, and I thank Allah for Minister Farrakhan in that we have those connections, those friendships, and we don't lose those. Although we're still doing the work, we're just doing it from a different perspective, but still the same work. So I'm glad you brought that up. Now I want to say this, and I don't want to be remiss in letting this go on too long. I thank Student Minister Troy so much of Muhammad Mosque #1 for he's very opening. He's very receiving of the sisters in the ministry. And I know there are some cities there are no sisters in the ministry, and there are some cities where you don't hear from the sisters. But in Detroit, we're one of those cities that by Allah's permission, we really have a strong women ministry class, and I thank Student Minister Troy for that.
Yeah, and it's not just that. It's the first radio show that he did with all women. Just recently, it was myself, Sister Eminence, and Sister Sinah. And that was pivotal because you rarely get to hear from the women.
Yes.
On a regular day.
Right.
Now, if it's a special occasion, if it's Savior's Day or Day of Atonement, we might go out and promote, right? Special events, Save Our Girls. But this was just a random Sunday, right? Nothing special about that. And so that's been his position, and I want to say this, that's been his position from the start.
Yes.
It's not that this is something unusual that women speak. It's very regular.
Yes.
It should be very normal and very common.
Yes.
And that is directly in line with what Minister Farrakhan is teaching about the role of a woman.
Yes.
How when our civilization was taken over by Satan, you had to hide the woman. It wasn't a subjugation of us, it was a protection of us, because Satan has vowed to rule the entire world.
Right.
And that's how you corrupt a society, you corrupt the woman.
Exactly.
So we had to be kind of put to the side for a moment, or just hidden, protected, because of what we were facing. But now we've got that ability to come forward. And so there's two things that Minister Troy does. He will not allow me, although I'm very short, I'm short. So the first time that I wanted to speak, I got this brilliant idea: put the rostrum on the floor so people can see me.
There you go. Great
Right?
idea. Great idea.
That's not a great idea.
Okay.
That was the only thing. So I'm like, I'm so short, like I'm gonna get tired, the neck is gonna be hurt. You know? And I was like, maybe I'll do. He said, no, I won't put the rostrum on the floor because it'll look like women are not allowed in school. As in
Excellent.
a lot of church and religious organizations and Muslim organizations.
Yes, ma'am.
It's like nothing different. Then I came up with my second brilliant,
Okay.
shot down idea.
Okay.
My second idea was like, okay, I want women to like intro, and I want them to do the introduction. He was like, no,
Right.
it's a regular Sunday.
Yeah.
The same people that intro me will intro you.
Yeah.
And that's revolutionary, and people need to know that he did not make any distinction. It wasn't Mother's Day.
Right. Exactly.
It wasn't
Exactly.
a special occasion. It was a Sunday. And so that was an extraordinary example of leadership.
And following the steps of Minister Louis Farrakhan.
100%.
And that's a blessing to say. I had the opportunity to interview Student Minister Troy last season, and he was the only brother that I interviewed. I think that was by far the most nervous I had ever been. And I know Student Minister Troy. We laugh, we joke. I mean, I know him. And yet I was nervous. And it's the respect factor, because I know how much he respects us. And he, in the midst of Savior's Day and all that's going on and all that he has to do to take the time to sit with me, I was beyond honored, you know. And I thank him for, and I want to make sure he knows that we love him, we respect him, and we thank him for having that vision to be able to say, I want the sisters out front, I want them heard as you would hear from any other student in the ministry.
And not only that, unfortunately, there was opposition to women being on the rostrum, just doing the intros. Not only that, but having a sister do an entire Sunday service.
Right.
Like, it was a lot of opposition, and he never was fazed by it. He knew everything that he had in his mind to do. He'd gotten it clear with Minister Ishmael before the haters started. That's foresight.
Right.
He had everything clear before the haters started to like say, oh, you can't have a woman. And he dropped the flyer, and then all the the eruptions and the the chaos, and he just floated me right on through it.
And Allah did the rest.
And Allah did the absolute rest and the absolute best. So I thank Allah for that. But that's
well, I thank Allah that as we give Brother Student Minister his due and his flowers for the work he's doing, I thank you. And I thank you for representing like you did and holding that down. And I look forward to more sisters being able to have that same opportunity. So it was truly a blessing.
Yes, we've got 7. It's a ton of women that now are training and working with the student ministry. And I don't want people to feel that you need to jump through any special hoops or do anything extraordinary to study with the student ministers. If that's your calling, follow your calling.
Now, with that said, I want to go somewhere and get you all's input on this one, because that's tied right in. That's in your notes too? Then I know I'm saying smart stuff. This is the Constitution, the Muhammad Mosque Provisional Constitution. And it states this, and this is something I have loved since day one I've read it. In our Constitution of the Nation of Islam, a woman shall rise as high as her God-given gifts and talents allow her in her own interest and in the interest of her nation within the framework of the laws of Islam. Now, again, you made a comment. There are churches, there are mosques across the globe that will not allow women in their pulpit, on the podium to speak. Knowing that we have a constitution that gives us a God-given talent, we are protected by it. How does that make you feel going forth in doing this work?
Well, I can say coming out of the church, and unlike everybody else, I always wanted to be a preacher.
Right.
I Shirley Caesar was my go-to. My grandmother introduced me to Shirley Caesar. So since I was 7, wanted to be in the ministry, but in the churches that we always got kicked out of, I was not. They always said, you'll never preach in the pulpit.
Right.
You could preach down there with the rest of the women, but you'll never be up there. So for me, coming into the nation, being from the South, I didn't think that there would be an opportunity until I came into the Nation of Islam. I came through 55 and transferred to Holly Springs with Student Minister Patricia, and that's when I started my journey in the student ministry as her assistant. So to see, as a Muslim, to see that and she and I talk about it all the time. It was just, that's when I knew I was home. Not that I didn't know when I joined the nation, but I knew that there was a place that Allah had carved out for me
Right.
when I was in Holly Springs.
And we must give a shout out to Sister Patricia. She held down Holly Springs by Allah's permission for a very long time. That study group is always in the top 10 of Savior's Day gifts and charity, attendance, fishing. I mean, may Allah continue to bless her works, her efforts, all her deeds. Sister Patricia has done a phenomenal job in Holly Springs, and may Allah continue to bless her in her works.
But you know, when you read the Bible, in the New Testament, the disciples, you go through Matthew, Mark, they all reverence Mary Magdalene. Because when Jesus ascended, they went to her like those who are around Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The men went to Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her. That was the same way with Mary Magdalene. The apostles, they needed to know, what did Jesus say about this? What did Jesus say about that?
Right.
So they when you read the New Testament, they give her that honor.
Right.
You know, of course the popes and
Right.
they all discredit her, but
Not the case.
not the case.
You need to study that.
As a matter of fact, I am.
You know, and that's, so when you want to find out what an organization is about, right?
Right.
You look at their doctrine, you look at their procedures, you look at their policies, you look at how they're structured. So this is not just a cultural thing.
Exactly.
This is ingrained in our foundation. This is how we are set up.
Yes.
And so whatever people want to say or however they want to criticize the nation for our position as women, right, which is side by side oftentimes with our men, or as we're taught, a step behind so that they can be our protectors, but we're not sanctioned from doing anything
Exactly.
that doesn't degrade us, as long as that, as long as it doesn't degrade us. So that's an unusual thing, because like, okay, in Iran, you've got now cameras being set up in various cities to catch women without a hijab on, so that they can send the morality police to talk to them. And the reason the protests started in Iran is because a woman was killed in police custody for not having her hijab on properly. Not speaking, not learning, not studying, nothing. Not having a hijab on. So we are privileged in the nation that we can really go free and express every single thing that we want to express, but that's ingrained in our doctrine. That is part of our philosophy, our way of operating. And that's unusual from any other religion or any other division of Islam, that women are specifically ingrained in how we operate.
It's in the instructions to the laborers in the Supreme Wisdom.
Alhamdulillah.
So he specifically said where the women reported their progress along with the rest.
Yes, ma'am. That's right. Excellent.
And just
That's beautiful.
bringing up the other world of Islam, the other sects,
Right.
they can't speak like how you were blessed to do. They can
Right.
get up there and speak on that platform and have an audience. They can talk to other sisters, but they don't even have training class. They don't have no training class to teach the sisters how to behave. All they have, the Quran, the Prophet, the stories of the hadiths of the Prophet, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. They don't have what we have. We're so blessed. Our sisterhood has a class.
Yes, ma'am.
And not just a class, but a class that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the head of.
Yes.
A class that was established and set up by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad under the instruction of Master Muhammad. So when you think about the way that we're sitting here right now and we're saying these are sisters who are students in the classroom of the ministry, these other women would love, because they have gifts inside of them.
Yes,
They
most
have
definitely.
truth inside of them. You know, they have the same divinity flowing through their veins that the male does.
And when you talk to them, they're brilliant.
Yes,
Yes.
Gifted, spiritually gifted women.
have talents out of this world. Yes, you're right. You know, you brought up MGT, and one of those things I am forever grateful is that Master Farad Muhammad gave us an MGT and GCC. I thank Allah so much every day for divine supreme wisdom, supreme knowledge that inshallah leads to us having supreme understanding. But that hasn't always been. And we have been blessed through Master Farad Muhammad to receive such supreme wisdom, specifically in the women's class. How key have those 7 training units been? Because, you know, the foundation of this show is because of my love of my class. And what I know it brings out. This is not just cooking class or sewing class or, you know, sisters just come together and swap recipes. It's way more profound than that on so many levels. So being in the ministry, which is in of itself a duty and acts of worship or a work in the community amongst our people, but having that foundation. How do you see the MGT and GCC in that?
So the one thing that we're taught, which is so key and so important, is found in our study guide 19. It's about the value of the woman. And we've taught it, we can say it, we will teach this in every different way, in every different aspect possible. But the role of the woman and the value of the woman in society, in a family, in the role of our rise, or in the progress of our rise as a people, it is essential. And so that class, our class, gets us to be able to function in getting ourselves to become the woman of God. Because we're not the woman of man, we are the woman of God. That's what you learn, and everything else comes from that.
Yes.
Who are we as women? But this is the MGT effect, right? Because
Right.
the MGT has an effect. We don't have to say anything.
Yes.
Because we've been trained, we have a certain style, a certain manner, grace, health, dress, a certain outlook, a decorum. Even before we talk,
Yes.
people are running up to us and
Yes.
like bowing and buying our groceries and doing all this stuff. Like, I mean,
I've
I've
been
had
witness.
people run from all the way across the store.
Yeah.
That, you know, or I'll go into a gas station, I'll never forget. I'll go into a gas station and a Caucasian woman was just really looking at me really hard. And I'm like, am I going to have to do something?
Right.
It's a Sunday, like,
Right.
I'm supposed to be peaceful. She comes up to me in the gas station line and she says, I just want to tell you, you are so incredibly gorgeous. And then the cashier says, I was going to say the same thing. And then the woman in the line next to me, she says, me too, I think the same thing.
Alhamdulillah.
So the class gets us prepared without even having to open our mouths.
Right. Right.
But then, once we speak, what we've been taught in the class now shows a level of wisdom and a level of knowledge and understanding that really you just don't see every day.
Yes,
It's
ma'am.
nearly unprecedented and among women in all kinds of societies.
That's an excellent point. That's an excellent point, Sister Letitia. Sister Dr. Eminence, what's your thoughts?
So that was a good point.
Mhm.
Because you always see beautiful. If you see this sister, it doesn't matter when. I'm in whole school, we run into always.
Always.
That's the effect. That's the God effect.
That's the God. So for me, when I think of our 7 units,
Yeah.
and I always talk to sisters because they tell me, sister, I'm not like you. And I don't know what they think I'm
Right.
like, because I just am always on the go. So, I mean, I believe that's why they say that, because it seems like I'm doing a lot. If you follow me on social media, I'm always doing something.
Right.
But, so they say, I'm not like you. I'm not into this and I'm not into, I said, listen, sister, because most of them that say that, they're housewives.
Mm-hmm.
And I say to them, you got units,
Mm-hmm.
7 units. That's a daycare.
Mm-hmm.
That's making food.
Mm-hmm.
That's a cleaning company.
Mm-hmm.
You got all this wealth right at your fingers.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
one of my outreaches is called Proverbs 31 Moon Man.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, we go over what the Bible, I always introduce the Bible because they're not really people that are Muslims that are a part of the movement. They're more so Christians. So that's why I chose that, because it's neutral.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're all striving to be Proverbs 31.
Yes, ma'am.
Woman, being fruitful. That's why I emphasize the womb aspect. But I teach them about our 7 units, because I'm like, if you have a million businesses you can think of just by learning these 7 units, because there's always going to be somebody that wants something to eat.
Yes,
There's
ma'am.
always going to be a sister that wants to go back to school or wants to go to work and she needs childcare. There's always going to be a sister that might say, hey, I don't want to clean my home today. But it's just the fact that we are under a teaching that is just so immaculate.
Yeah.
It's given us a lot of opportunities, to just expand who we are. And in the midst of doing it, you might not like cooking, but you can write books on cooking because you know how to so well.
Mm-hmm.
You might not like cleaning. You can write books on how to clean.
Right.
Or do videos.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the world of TikTok. Like, there's so many aspects of our teachings that can be monetized and profitable.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot, because apart from that, I do build websites for people. I do I mean, because some of my clients, while I'm working with them, you'll just realize their problem is either money or relationship.
Right.
And a lot of times, if it's relationship, it's still money.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, what can you do from home that can still create respect for your husband, but you're doing your own thing and he can approve of it? Because not every man wants their wife out there working. And that is a fact. That's his right as a man if he can provide. But some women need to be fulfilled. So that's why I love our teachings, because we're taught that the home is the base but not the place.
And what you're saying is that these 7 training units are a lot for you to create the do for self process.
Yes, ma'am.
And the do for self, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has taught us, we can create that out of these 7 units from home. So that's an excellent point. There's so many, and I think during COVID, I saw so many believers coming out and really discovering talents and skills they had within themselves. And like you said, able to create wealth for themselves, do for self, and inshallah lead to financial freedom. I want to say this. When you said the Proverb 31 woman, and I know I've talked to Sister Yasina about this many times, where we've studied and looked at how the 7 training units and that Proverb 31 woman is so intertwined. It's amazing. I mean, I literally went verse by verse, and I was like, sewing, how to take care of house, how to keep husband, and I mean, you can see the balance of the two. Back to what we've talked about when we talk about going into church, and we can relate to no matter who we walk with. But we've had examples of this. We've had examples, and I have books out, and we'll be showing them in the video. But I have the 3 books in the Women in Islam series by Mother Tynnetta Muhammad. May Allah be pleased. I also have books up here by Sister Dr. Ava. Both who, may Allah be pleased with our sister as well. But both of these are sisters who, by Allah's permission, have seen the world. Their voices are heard around the world. Their example is reflected around the world. They have inspired women and girls. We're not going to talk about the men too, but women and girls specifically in study, in healings, in becoming all that you want to be. How important were they to you? I know. Did I get you in it?
You
I already
did.
know. Tell the world.
That's like teary eyes.
Yeah.
I Mother Tynnetta showed me and continues to show me how I can be a scholar. I learned, but more importantly, the femininity.
Yes.
I'm pray to get there, but just the essence of the beauty of a woman, and the dignity of a woman, and to see how she go throughout the world and just being herself.
Yes.
Taking the teachings and taking what she learned from her husband, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and being able to share what she shared without ever losing her dignity.
Yes.
And to take those teachings and help people in ways that, as I'm continuing to learn through Sister Callie, that just baffle my mind. Dr. Ava and Mother Tynnetta, may Allah be pleased, they made me study more.
Yes.
And because of Mother Tynnetta, I'm into metaphysics. I love law. Dr. Ava made me want to study law more.
Right.
So I found in them, I found bits and pieces that, and I'm still unfolding, but I find bits and pieces of myself in them. So if there's a woman that I could marvel myself after, it's like when Jesus said, when you to the disciples, when you see me, you see the Father, because the Father is in me and I am Him. That's like my love for Mother Tynnetta. It's, I pray that still Yasina, but when people see me, they can see bits and pieces of her, the light, the bits and pieces of Dr. Ava, and the bits and pieces of you, because we're linked.
Yes.
Allah has linked us so beautifully, you know, and that's the power of the sisterhood.
Yes.
You don't find this in the street.
Right.
You find this in that class. But it's just beautiful. Minister Farrakhan said that when we read the Bible, we'll find ourselves in the Bible.
Yes.
So how beautiful is it to find ourselves in the Bible, but also in our class, in this beautiful sisterhood created by Master Fatimah Muhammad, that we can find bits and pieces. I go, oh, I like her, because there's something about her that resonates with my soul. Oh, I like her. And God just brings us together. If that makes any sense.
It does.
But it's just the beauty of being in the classroom of God around other gods.
Yeah.
You know?
We strengthen each other. We inspire and
I
strengthen.
got all excited.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Sister Ava, Mother Tynnetta, the value of their presence, their studies, their being amongst us.
So Mother Tynnetta, we were really, really blessed.
Yes.
In the early days of me becoming a Muslim, coming into the Nation of Islam, Mother Tynnetta used to come to Atlanta a lot, like all the time. The minister used to come down the South a lot, but Mother Tynnetta would come down there a lot. So as a 20-year-old, right, I get to drive around Mother Tynnetta Muhammad, right? But I'm still new. I don't know the full impact.
Right.
The thing about Mother is when she got a moment, she saw every single person that was with you. You could have been security, you could have been carrying the bags, right? Driving the car or holding the door, but she would see everyone around her, and then she would speak to something in them. She did this directly. And so, you know, I would be driving her to the airport late because the nation, you know, endless business, right? So we're late going to the airport. We're driving, she's sitting in the back, she's talking with one of her very good old friends, Sister Rashida, and they're just back there giggling, laughing, right? I don't think that she's paying any attention to me. She gets out, we run to the gate. That's how long ago you could run to the gate at that time.
Right.
And she says, you know, you, my sister, your time has come. But she would do that to everybody around her.
Wow.
To inspire us.
Yeah.
So as great as she was, she still saw what was in each of us. And, you know, for Dr. Ava, I was literally a Dr. Ava stan, like a super fan. If she just said one thing, like she said my name one time, and I wasn't good for like a week.
Right.
I just told everybody. She said my name and she touched me. So she was my rock star.
Yeah.
I don't feel that way about anybody else save Minister Farrakhan.
Right.
Where you get nervous and you
Yes.
can't talk around them and you're like, and she says your name and you're like, oh my God, she said my name, oh my gosh. So they obliterated impossible for Muslim women.
Yes.
There was no such thing as impossible for
Say
Muslim
that
women.
twice.
When they
Wow.
when Mother Tynnetta would go on these symposiums and she would be speaking in all of these countries around the world
Yes.
and representing our teachings
Yes.
around the world.
Yes.
So
yes.
they obliterated impossible. Dr. Ava's defense of the minister was
Unparalleled.
unparalleled. You cannot touch
It
it.
cannot be touched.
So
And she had a way of giving you insight to see it like you never understood it. When she was breaking down the lawsuit against the New York Times and the way the minister handled it with the Betty Shabazz, and she said, what you don't know, this is unprecedented. This never happened before. The minister, and when she explained it, you sitting there going, wow. And the beauty is, to me, of them both, they made you fall in love with them by what they taught us, but we fell in love with what they were teaching us about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Yes.
It's the most profound way that you can teach someone without drawing the eye to me, but you fall in love with you for teaching me to fall in love with them.
Yes.
Did I explain that well?
You did.
Because I know in my head it made a lot of
we
sense. It really
experienced
made
that.
sense
That's
in
how
my
we
head.
know what
Yes.
you're saying. It might not sound like
Right.
it makes sense, but just try it. Try the formula. It will make complete
It
sense.
says it works.
It's like, for me, it's reading Unveiling the Number 19.
Yeah.
When Mother is talking about her journeys with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and what he taught her. And I read it like, I don't have chapter books. The final call is
Right.
So I read it. I'll read like one article, especially when she's talking about the messenger and what he taught her about the woman. I sit there and I read it over and over and over again, because it's like, for me, it's the love.
Mm-hmm.
She shows you see the love of a woman, of a wife for her husband, and how, because she knew he was from God, she knows he's from God. She said that there was nothing that he said to her or taught her that she didn't believe. So to sit there and read that love, for me, that's a love letter that she presented to the world about her husband and her relationship with her husband. So those are the kind of things that give me goosebumps.
Okay, because you got Sister Dr. Eminence over here about to just throw this laptop out her lap. Go ahead, Sister Dr. Eminence.
You all know we could talk about this
Yes.
forever, and you guys have covered, your sisters have covered a good source of how we feel. And the other aspect for me is the fact that they both were encouraged by men,
Yeah.
not just any men, The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad encouraged Dr. Ava to be all she can be.
Mother Tynnetta.
The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad encouraged Mother Tynnetta to be all she could be.
Okay.
And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan encouraged Dr. Ava to
Yes.
be all
Yes.
that she
I
could be.
agree with.
So we have a woman
Yeah.
who is the what? The
Right.
the national spokesperson for
Unheard
the
of.
man of God. I mean, so we should be silent. Why?
Right.
You know why? And
Yes.
if you follow Dr. Ava, she did not bow to anything but truth.
Yes.
And she respected her husband. As Sister Yasina eloquently put it, like, these are women who are powerful.
Yes.
Make no mistake about it,
Mhm.
powerful women. And they were given authority to be powerful. And yet and still, they submitted to their husband.
Yes.
So that teaches us that if you really say you follow Mother Tynetta's way, like you love everything she stands for, can you stay chaste
Right.
decades
Yes.
after the departure of your mate?
That's right.
That takes a lot. That takes, as Sister Yasina put, absolute trust and faith in that man and the fact that he is who he says he is and that what he is saying is directly coming from Allah.
I think a lot with you all talking, I thought of Mother Bernstein and Master Farad Muhammad, may Allah forever. The NOI reformer, the teenage secretary of Master Farad Muhammad, the one and only. And I think a lot. I mean, that is my tearjerker. When I think about Master Farad Muhammad entrusted a teenage girl who did her job and to this day was still gaining knowledge from. You know, Mother Clara Muhammad and the shoulders we stand on. There shouldn't be a prayer where we miss saying thank you, Allah. You know, we've been honored and blessed as women in the Nation of Islam to have so many, I mean, we could go on and on and on all night. I thank Allah for all the examples that we have been blessed with. Now we're going to get ready and wrap, but I want to ask each of you a question. And again, I thank you all for joining me. To the sisters watching, to the sisters who say, man, I desire to teach. Because there's so many ways, and that's something I want us to realize. Ministry is not just a podium. It's only so many people can get on the podium. It's only for a couple hours. It's only so many we can reach. Ministry is not a building or a podium. The ministry is the people. We have 196,940,000 square miles of work to do. That's our ministry. To the women watching, to the girls watching, what would be your words to them in regard to them standing up, letting their voice be heard in this hour, so that's their ministry. Their ministry can be heard. Do it.
If that's your calling, do it.
Yeah.
I'm not on the rostrum all the time, but I have platforms.
Yes. Yes.
I have my business.
Yes.
I counsel women.
Yes.
I have a family, a matriarchal family
Yes.
of women who I talk to all the time.
Right.
My sister, we call my sister Nick, we call her the undocumented Muslim.
Not
The
registered yet.
undocumented MGT. But
Honorary.
she's honorary.
She's honorary.
But be who you say you are.
Yes.
Be who you say you want to be. My family and those around me respect me for who I am because one thing that they say is I'm the same all the time. I don't know if anybody else, but I'm the same all the time. This is me.
Yes.
And So just be you. I can't be Letitia. I think Letitia cute.
I do too.
But I can't be Letitia. I can't be Eminence. I can't be you. Y'all got height. I can't be you. I can only dwell in this soul.
Yes.
This essence can only dwell in this body. So what greater gift from God than it is to have a voice and to be myself.
I'm really glad. Sister Dr. Eminence.
To any sister watching this and you want to speak out, I would say first examine what it is you want to speak about and why. Because you have to have a why to your motion, you know, because we know the first law is motion, but the second law is order.
Right.
So you have to get to know what you were created to do. And stay in your lane. No matter who comes by, this person's good at this person's good at that. Stay focused to what it is you do. I've been doing the same thing for over 20 years. The same exact thing. My profession has never changed.
Right.
And a lot of people, I fought my way through. Because a lot of people said, you touch people,
Right.
you this, you that. I'm like, listen, let Allah condemn me. Because I'm doing what I know I should do. And mind you, I only work with women.
Yeah, right.
But if I listened to that, I wouldn't have continued on my journey. So just find it what is really truly your calling, and why is that your calling. I work with women. I was a teen mother. So I also would like to say to women listening, whatever your circumstance is, I don't know it, and I don't want to know it, and I don't have to know it. But find yourself aligned with what was once a hindrance and you were delivered from, because that's truly most times where our calling is. Because we have to go back. I heard the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan tell a man one time who said that he was molested by his father. He said, if God loved me, why would God allow my father to abuse me like that? And the minister said to him, listen, all you can do is see that God wants to use you to go back to those brothers that are been through what you've gone through and help them, help heal them. And I might not have said it verbatim,
Right.
but my reality is that I don't judge people because I don't know what you've gone through. I'm just so happy that you're alive today and you have another opportunity to live a better life, because we all have come from something that we might not be proud of. But so I would just say that. Make sure that what it is you're standing up for is something you're willing to die for.
Excellent. That's excellent. Sister Letitia.
Two things and two things only. You are here by the grace and mercy of Allah, God. And if you get in communication, if you get tightly connected with your author, your friend, your father, your creator, so much so that you're going to him for everything, then whatever it is you are meant to express, be it in-house ministry, be it out of the mosque ministry, in the streets, whatever, you can express that fully because God is giving you himself. Allah has shared himself with us. And so if that's what you are aligned with, nobody has to call you anything. It just comes out.
That's right.
It comes out of you. That's my favorite thing about Sister Fatimah is she's such a natural preacher. It just comes out of her. Like you don't even talk about anything and it just bubbles. And so that comes from a connection with God.
Yes.
So that's the first thing. You and Allah need to be in close communication just to be able to get through this life. But to be able to manifest and express his word, you cannot do that without deep prayer, fervent prayer, and fervent obedience to Allah. So that's the first thing, no matter what. The second thing is do not tell yourself no. Let other people tell you no.
Right.
So because sometimes in our cultures, in our societies, we make up rules that are not real rules.
Right.
That women can't, speak or you got to have a special, So don't tell yourself no. If you want to do something, let other people tell you no.
Right.
9 times out of 10, they're not going to tell you no.
Yes.
But we stop ourselves because we think that somebody's going to say no. Let them tell you no.
Right.
It's a bold stance, but most times people don't really want to tell you no.
Yeah.
So you just keep pushing, you go on through.
Well, you know what, you have the finish line.
100%. But we tell ourselves no more often than sometimes anybody else. And so we have to get out of that and say, this is what God has given me. Now where you want me to do it, this has got to get done.
Yes, one last thing I forgot to say. If you are an MGT in the Nation of Islam, please read this book. I mean, I'm not getting paid to put this up here, but please read this because you have to know who Master Muhammad is for yourself. If you, that is the source of your success. This is where the true success comes from. You have to know who Master Muhammad is. You cannot rely on anyone else to teach that to you. This book was written by a member of the Executive Council, Dr. Student Minister Wesley Muhammad, and the minister is allowing this book to be in circulation. I bought this at Savior's Day several times because I end up giving them away because let's just say let somebody borrow it, you never get it back. It's
right.
You can have
it's a gift.
So next year I'll get another one. So this book right here, I'm telling you, please find this book and read it because you gotta know, we all have to know for ourselves who Master Muhammad is because we cannot say we're members and we believe and we don't even know who he is and his history. And just really fast, because when the book first starts, it talks about how Master Muhammad told the believers when he first, started that he would not reveal who he is till later. But there was one who knew who he was, and that was the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. This book goes into all of that detailed. So please get this book.
And we will make sure the information is provided, so you will see that information at the end of the video so that you can order yours. That's from our student minister, Dr. Wesley Muhammad. I want to say I am honored. And if anyone watching don't get anything else, please realize these sisters are not just prayerful. They're not just beautiful in their garments, but these sisters are very well studied. And for those of you who are interested in the ministry, start with your studies. As Sister Dr. Eminence pointed out, pick up your books. Start reading your books. If you don't know where to start with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's message to the black man. Our Savior has arrived. Fall of America. Get your prayer book. Get into your studies. For me, the book I have had to buy multiple times. Because, I read it, I highlight, I make notes on the side, closing the gap. I think I'm at book number 8 right now. It was so embarrassing. The cover was off. I was using the cover as a bookmark. You can say anything and I'll go, no, it's in the middle of the book. Look to the left, towards the bottom. I know where it's at. Give me a minute, I'll find it. But I love closing the gaps. I love the biblical references, the Quranic references, and getting into the inner views of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. How profound. And he's the mouthpiece of God in our midst. How beautiful. We'll also make sure you have the link of how to get Sister Dr. Ava's books, Mother Tynnetta's books, The Final Call that Sister Yasina mentioned. But the point is, get into your studies. As Sister Letitia pointed out, get into your prayers. As Sister Dr. Eminence pointed out, know your body. Get into your healthy healing of self, studying. Again, back to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, How to Eat to Live, book 1 and 2. So we want to just thank you for being on. This was the perfect start of season 2. I thank you. So we thank you for joining us. Again, don't forget, like, subscribe right here at my sister's house. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week. Assalamu alaikum.